In our last episode, we built this train station along with this massive train network, which just so happens to be made out of blueprints, making it really easy to scale. And speaking of scale, that brings us to today's video, because we need power, more power. And the plan is to use this oil rig for that. After all, we are producing fuel, in fact quite a bit of it. But there is a slight problem. For fuel gens, we need computers, heavy modular frames, motors, rubber and quickwire. And sure, we're producing heavy modular frames. And yes, we are producing computers, but just not enough of them. We don't have plastic fully automated because our fuel buffers are filling up too fast, and that is causing our plastic and rubber lines to run dry. But given we have all the excess plastic and rubber that we do produce being sent to our main base, I thought, why not rebuild the computer factory and make it an efficient recipe so that we can build the computers and the quickwire that we need in order to build fuel generators. And knowing that we needed quickwire for the fuel generators, I thought of the perfect recipe. And obviously that is Caterium computers. And we're going to be producing circuit boards, quickwire and rubber for those computers, which then brought me to the question of where should I build this? Looking at the factory, you can see we have a very linear setup. Everything's straight lines heading towards us, and I don't really like that. So let's build it here. I think given the proximity of the train station there, which is going to bring in the plastic that we need for the circuit boards and the rubber, that we'll build the computer factory along the side of this railway that you can see here. So I'm going to start planning out the foundations, and from there we'll start building. And here we are. We'll have the Caterium going through the little tip at the end that you can see here where there's a little inlet, and the rest of the resources will come up through this column at the bottom here that leads from the train station area to where the main factory is for the computers. I think it's really important that once you have a basic shape that you fill in at least the first level of walls. I feel this gives you a bit of a border to work around, and also makes it easy to tell if you're getting quite cramped in the space. I'm also going to play around with the shapes here as well. It's something that I quite often say I shouldn't do and then end up doing it anyway, but I just think it makes the build stand out a little bit more. Maybe I'll try that in a little bit. But I'm going to grab the resources and then start building our refineries along here. And here we have the Caterium setup. I've decided to bring the Caterium down underneath the floor so that we can, you know, wash the Caterium. I keep joking. And then being brought up to these 10 refineries where they're going to produce the pure Caterium ingots. I have tried to, I guess, beautify the build slightly, and so we've got a nice little border around the refineries, and then we have our water that's coming in from the wall. This gives us a nice open area to walk through. Moving on from the Caterium refineries, we have two options here. We have the quickwire, which we need to do next, and we can either do the standard recipe or the copper recipe, and I do want this to be relatively efficient in terms of resources. You can see how we're getting 7 more quickwire out of a single Caterium ingot. So that is why we're doing that. It does mean we're either going to have to bring the copper ore in and turn that into copper ingots, or we're going to bring the ingots in. Regardless, I think the next thing for us to do would be to set up the quickwire assemblers facing in, facing out. I think facing out, and then we'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll run the resources through the middle here. And here we are, 16 assemblers all placed ready for the quickwire to be produced. And the next thing to do is to sort out the mergers. These will be placed along here in a line, and then we just need to worry about the copper. We're going to be sending a fair bit of copper along here, and I'm thinking that we will bring the copper from this section here. I think this would work out, and I was playing around with the idea of maybe removing this railway. Like every time I do something in one episode, I delete it in the next. I don't know why. But we will remove this, build a train station here, and then have obviously one line that loops around the side and then one that goes through. And that will be bringing just our copper to this factory. So let me get some resources and then we'll be back here. We're back. The first thing that I wanted to do, I thought, what was that? I really need to try this. So I picked up some silica and I just wanted to fill this wall in. We're going to keep that, I guess, as a, I don't know, a statement piece, a statement wall. Oh, that's so nice. Fantastic. Anyway, on to the copper refineries. I've already got a line for where I want the resources to go to, which is up there. And I'm thinking, rather than doing anything fancy like a overhead manifold, what we'll do is we'll just run these in a straight line so that they're in line with this. If I can find the right spot, I think that's right.
Bruh.
Like so. And then this will just head up to the top. Can we get the right positioning? I think it's there.
No.
No, it's not. It's not. It's slightly under. Is that? I think that's perfect. Nice. So that will be how we run that. And we'll probably bring the copper under the floor if we're doing a train station, because we haven't got a huge amount of space for a train station. And the water we're going to bring from there, similar to what we did with the pure Caterium ingots, and just bring it along the wall and then straight down into these. As you can see, I've also added a wall just to mark where the next section is going to be, because I'd like to have these separated. So the other side of this is going to be where we're doing the circuit boards. I've also added a foundry around the refineries, and I really like what we've done with the metal beams here. And all we've done is run the beams along the bottom with the barrier and then placed one of these upwards to give it this kind of stump, I guess you would say. And under here, we've also added signs because we do want to see how this looks when Update 8 comes with Lumen. That's what I'm really excited for. And if you haven't noticed already, we also enclose the conveyor bus with these frames. And I really like how chunky it is. Normally I'd go for a much the thinner version, but I actually really like it being more heavy duty and industrial here. But now it's time for the circuit boards, which will be in this spot. And here we are with the 9 assemblers for the Caterium circuit boards. This time we're going to be running raised manifolds. This is where the resources are going to come on from. We currently have the quick wire here ready to go, and then we'll also bring the plastic from the train station. Connecting the quick wire from these assemblers, we have the bus of resources coming up from under here. This is both the two sides that we need. We actually only need 4 assemblers worth for the circuit boards, and then 4 assemblers worth, if I remember rightly, for the computers. So you can see here we have the 2 lines that are coming up. We're going to run these all the way down. This one will go to the computers, and this one, as you can see here, is going to the circuit boards. And I think we'll probably place a doorway here so that we can come through here to walk to the computers. And I think what would be really nice about this is if we can limit the amount of light that comes through for us to play around with Lumen a little bit more. The other thing that I wanted to just show off is the use of the pillars over here. You may have already noticed. So we've placed the pillars and then we've added the wall in between. And I think this is just a really nice way to play about with the depth. And also, it doesn't matter what type of wall you use, it looks really good. And then we'll probably play around with the textures once we do different levels. I may have got a bit ahead of myself here. So I had some plastic coming through and I thought, you know what, I'll play around with the coated floor, which I absolutely love. And you can see I started going overboard with the vinyl, which I really like this. Just look at this little tight corridor. We're playing around with the shapes of the beams, as you can see here. And we've done the same here. We're trying to keep the metal plate and then the normal metal walls. But in here, I'm really happy with how this is all shaping up. And as for the windows, this is what I went with in the end. So you can see we were playing about with it, but I had to bring it down a little bit because it was just a bit too high and there was no light coming to the actual build. And then we have this walkway all the way through, and this roof, really playing around with the angles here. And then I placed some manufacturers for the computers. But I started building... I just get too far ahead of myself. I started building this glass wall, and then I was like, well, do we need that much light coming through? And so I started playing around with this. I've twisted the pillar like so to create this kind of star shape. And then I was thinking about adding a beam in just so that we have this tiny like streak of light from the window, but I don't know if we'll do that. You can certainly see how this is all coming along and working together. I'm really liking how this is shaping up. Yeah, I'm liking the green here. Now that that wall's finished, I'm really happy with it. You may have noticed that we've been putting everything in their own separate areas, and that's because I feel that by separating the areas, you kind of give it more uniformity as a factory rather than it's just one big room. It's their own separate little compartments working together to create a working factory. So I'm really liking this kind of style that we've got going, but I am really playing around with the overall design. I don't want it to be the normal boring looks that I often build. So I'm going to endeavor to change it up a little bit with these beams. I think that looks kind of nice. But you can see that our Caterium ingots are going to come along here and then into the system. Speaking of which, I want to get up there. Let's see. We want to have like a power system where we can bring the power all the way through the build, and then from there we'll run a kind of border around the build and have our power up there, which will hopefully feed down into all of the assemblers. So I've got the right placement now for the beam. And as you can see, we're running the power along here. This will run the power all the way through to the factory with the exception of the manufacturers for the computers. And then here we have our assemblers. We'll have the power running down from these beams all the way along, but I do want to play around with, we had a slotted roof that we developed. Here we go. Yeah, this one. And I think it would just look really nice along here. By the way, with this being our blueprint playthrough, I do show you how to build all of these blueprints, but if you're interested in getting all of them, they are available on my Patreon as well. So we have a fair few on there. It's not just all of these, there's a whole lot more as well. I'm liking this. Just need to extend this out. Anyway, you get the point. Let's move on to the train station as well, which will be over in this section. In order to build the train station, the first thing that I needed to do was to remove the rail, and that's exactly what we've done. I like the idea of doing it this side, but there's just not enough space. So we'll bring the resources out on the other side and then bring them down. And then we can have a empty train station. Maybe do a little border around the outer section. And then a little bit of a walkway across, because we're obviously going to be using this section as well. I've played a little bit more with the design and I'm pretty happy with how this is. I haven't done the walkway over the rail yet, but we can think about that in a little bit. The train station itself, I like the little decals that we've got on the floor where the items are going down and then across to the copper refinery. And I also like how we've bordered the whole area. And even though we've done very little to the train station itself, I feel that how all of the little parts that we've added to this have come together really make it stand out as its own little custom train build that works with the computer factory that we've got here. And at this point, we're left with roofing the build. I mean, it's pretty much set. We still haven't done the computer section. I need to sort that out, but we still have space here, and I'm thinking maybe we should have a dedicated power backup here for when we do have priority power switches, because I'd like to play around with circuits and using power storage in factories. And then when it comes to the design of the roof, I do want to use a few signs. Famous last words, right? But we also want to show off these smokestacks as well. I think that will make it stand out. So time for some power storage. I think we don't need too much. So if we just try and place these in the center, and then we'll have the little switch facing us. And we'll do this all the way along the side here. And we'll have to do it on the opposite side as well. The other thing that I'd like to do is to break this up slightly. We'll have a walkway and we'll cut the power storage. We run that all the way along there, and then we'll have a border, and then we'll have it the same on the other side, and hopefully we'll be able to see all of the storage light up. And this will just be a platform. And here we are. I'm really happy with how this has turned out. A moment ago, these were up and running, but for some reason, the circuit stabilized without me doing anything, apparently, which I'm not complaining at. That's how it's supposed to be. But we have started roofing over. In fact, we've made quite a lot of progress. I should probably show you. We've started producing the computers, thanks to sending our circuit boards along here. Of course, there are none when I want to...
Hello there.
There you go. They're running all the way along here, and then they cut into the roof, and then these are running to the computers, which are now housed behind this glass wall. I'm trying to, again, compartmentalize everything, but I like the idea of having these glass walls to separate people from walking in within the facility. With that, we are going to start focusing on the roofing. I'll show you firstly what we've done in regards to this. We have this section filled out. We're using the slotted roof over there because I love the idea of having the sunlight come through to the manufacturing area. The smokestacks are sticking through. I had wanted this to be lower, but I mentioned that I wanted to use signs. Well, I lifted this up by an extra 2 foundations so that we could slip this line of lighting, and it looks fabulous, but we still have a lot of building to do with the roof. First off, we're going to do, I think, a glass roof all the way along. Probably going to have to add some lights to here. I know we're using the slotted roof, but I think it would be really nice to have the lights above the slotted roof section. Yeah, this'll work. I'm pleased with this. We'll have it so that there's this little ring in the middle, and then glass along the outside to let some of the light in, but not too much. And that way we can play around with the shadows a little more. There we are. That's looking pretty nice. And then for the last 2 sections, I think we'll do a little pyramid. Nothing too much, just a glass pyramid to make it feel like an open foyer. And here we are. I am super happy with the design of this factory. I love the little light that we have just going there. I love the focus wall that we have as well. And then how all of the roofing combines together. Oh, and of course, the train definitely adds to the overall aesthetic of this section of the build. And now that we are producing those computers, we're ready to get on to the next section of our world, which will take inspiration from the pure refineries that we had in this build, and will be designed based on the concept of bringing resources into a factory and the factory scaling up production according to its input rather than a set amount of resources needed per minute. And knowing how power hungry these refineries are, we're going to have to build a few fuel generators as well. So if that does interest you, make sure to subscribe for more. But we are going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Solarclipse patrons, James Irwin, Firefless and Treble, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben, Star, Shoku, the MN Wolf, and that dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Viking Brit. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.